أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 154, Surah Al-Kahf. We'll begin from ayah number 71. So in the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr, we learned about the occasion when both of them met. And Musa alayhi salam requested Khidr that he should allow him to stay in his company so that he can learn from him. But Khidr, he set a condition. And what was that condition? That you're not allowed to ask any question until I tell you, until I inform you. So it wasn't that Musa a.s. was not allowed to ask at all. What was the condition? That until I'm fully done with what I'm doing, and I have fully explained the matter to you, until then, do not object, do not question, do not suggest, do not interrupt at all. So in other words, Musa a.s. was not allowed to interrupt until Khidr had completely finished his task or he had fully explained himself. And this is a very important principle that we must also learn. Because if we do not apply this, then what will happen? It will interfere our learning and it will also interfere the others' teaching. And at the end of the day, who is going to suffer? The student is going to suffer. And not just him, perhaps other people will also suffer because of him. So the terms were agreed and both of them they set out. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which the entire incident of Musa a.s. and Khidr is mentioned, part of that hadith says that Al-Khidr said to Musa a.s. that if you follow me, ask me not about anything till I myself mention it to you. So they set out walking along the shore until a boat passed by and they asked the crew to let them go on board. The crew recognized Khidr and allowed them to go on board free of charge. So both of them were allowed to go on board free of charge. Notice how a student can benefit when he is with a particular teacher or when he is with a certain person. Why? Musa a.s. didn't have to pay anything either. Because Khidr was allowed for free, therefore Musa a.s. did not have to pay anything. So when they went on board, suddenly Musa saw that Al-Khidr had pulled out one of the planks of the ship with an adze. And Musa a.s. said to him, these people gave us a free ride, yet you have broken their boat so that its people will drown. Verily, you have done a terrible thing. So before Khidr even explained himself, here Musa a.s. was objecting. So Al-Khidr said, did I not tell you that you would not be able to have patience with me? Musa a.s. said, call me not to account for what I forgot, and be not hard upon me for my affair with you. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, in the first instance, Musa a.s. asked Al-Khidr because he had forgotten his promise. Because forgetfulness is a very big part of human beings. Then a bird came and sat on the edge of the boat, dipping its beak once or twice in the sea. So Al-Khidr said to Musa, my knowledge and your knowledge in comparison to Allah's knowledge is like what this bird has taken out of the sea. This is what Khidr said to Musa a.s. So let's look at the ayat now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَانْطَلَقَا. So both of them set out. انطلق ينطلق انطلاق. From the root letters, qa, lam, qaf. So انطلق ينطلق انطلاق. And انطلاق is to take off. It is to set out. It is to depart. And another word from the same root is the word talaq. And talaq is divorce. Why? Because when a woman is given a divorce and when their iddah is completed, then she is free. She has been set free. She can leave. She can go. She's not under the obligation of asking her husband or anything like that. She is free. So فَانْطَلَقَا. Both of them, meaning Musa and Khidr, they proceeded. Now, up until now, there was another person with Musa a.s. Yusha ibn Nun, right? His own student. So where is he? He is not mentioned over here. So some scholars have said that at this point, Yusha ibn Nun stayed over there and Musa and Khidr only, they proceeded. And others have said that no, since it hasn't been mentioned that Yusha left, therefore we will understand that Yusha was also there, but he was only observing. He was not saying anything at all. Because he was the student of the student. So his rank was even lesser. So therefore he didn't say anything. So فَانْطَلَقَا حَتَّى until إِذَا رَكِبَا فِي السَّفِينَةِ. Until both of them embarked on the ship. Who? Musa and Khidr. And remember that the word safina is generally used for a passenger ship. There is another word that we have read for ship, which is fulk. And fulk is generally cargo. Okay? But safina is generally passenger. So both of them embarked on the ship. What happened? Khidr kharaqaha. He tore it open. He made a hole in it. Kharaqa is from the root letters kharaqa, and kharq is the opposite of khalq. Where khalq is to create, kharq is to destroy. So kharaqaha, he destroyed it. How did he destroy it? By pulling out a plank or two from the side of the boat. Qala, he said, Musa alayhi salam, he asked Khidr out of amazement, and because he found it very surprising, he said, أَخَرَقْتَهَا? Have you destroyed it? Have you torn it open? لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا? So that you would drown its people? Lam over here is not of purpose, but rather it is of consequence. لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا. That as a consequence of this, what's going to happen? The people on this ship are going to drown. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا. Certainly you have come with a thing, meaning you have done a thing that is imra, that is very serious, that is very evil. You have done something that is extremely wrong. The word imra is from the root letters hamza, mim, ra, and the word amr is also from the same root. However, notice this word is imr, with a kasra under the hamza. And imr has two meanings. First of all, imr is used for something that is very scary, very frightening. Baghawi said that imr is wahiya, very scary, very frightening. So what you've done is very frightening. People could drown any moment. The water could be filling up the ship because of this hole that you made, and the people could drown. We're in the middle of the sea, middle of the water. Secondly, the word imr is also used for something that is extremely serious. Very serious. Abu Sufyan, when he returned from the Hiraqal, from his court, he said about the Prophet ﷺ that لَقَدْ أَمِرَ أَمْرُ بْنُ أَبِي كَبْشَةَ. That certainly the matter of this person, meaning of Muhammad ﷺ, has become very serious. That look, the Hiraqal is asking about him. So imr is something very serious. So what you have done is a munkar, it is very serious, and it's extremely frightening. We see that Musa alayhi salam, he was extremely strong, he was very bold, he was very daring, and he did not fear speaking up the truth when there was a need to do so. Which is why he went to Fir'aun, and which is why when he saw something like this happening, he didn't care who was doing it. He didn't care what condition was set. He knew this was something wrong, and he spoke up. He could not control himself over there. He spoke up. And especially when it came to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it came to the rights of people, Musa alayhi salam would speak out what was necessary. And this is the reason why he reprimanded Khidr so severely. That he says, لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. You have done something so serious, something so frightening. He doesn't care about who's standing in front of him. He just says, لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. قَالَ, he said. Who said? Khidr said, أَلَمْ أَقُلْ. Did I not say, إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. That you will not be able to have sabr with me. Did I not tell you? So Khidr, he reminded Musa alayhi salam of the previously agreed condition. So what was the response of Musa alayhi salam? Did he become stubborn over there? That no, but what you have done does not make sense, and why did you do it? And I do not accept this, I reject it. He didn't argue. Musa alayhi salam remembered immediately, and he apologized. He did not become stubborn. He did not begin to give excuses. What did he say? قال, he said, لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت. Do not hold me accountable for what I forgot. In other words, I'm sorry, I forgot. Now the question is, why did Musa alayhi salam forget? Why did he forget the condition? And if you look at it, this was something very serious. They're going on a boat, and all of a sudden a plank or two have been pulled out. Anybody in this situation would do the same thing, isn't it? So this is why he forgot. And generally people forget the most important rules even, the most important rules in a state of emergency, in a state of fear, in a state of panic. The basic rules, the most important rules, people forget about them. They completely leave their mind when they are in a difficult situation. So he says, لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت. And he says, وَلَا تُرْهِقْنِي, and do not burden me, do not cover me, min amri, concerning my affair, usran, with difficulty. Turhiqni is from the root letters rahaqa. And rahaqa is to cover something. And irhaq, arhaqa, yurhiqu irhaq, is to lay such a burden on someone that is very difficult for them to carry. It is to lay such a heavy burden on someone that is very difficult for them to carry. So he says, La turhiqni, do not burden me. With what? With usran. Because you see at the end of the ayah, usran is mansoob. It is maf'ul, it's the object. So do not burden me with difficulty, min amri, concerning my affair. What was the affair of Musa a.s.? He was there to learn from Khidr. So in my learning from you, do not be too difficult with me. Please make it easy for me. In my companionship with you, do not be too strict with me. Do not be too hard on me. Rather deal with me with ease and pardon. So what do we learn from here? Two things about Musa a.s. That firstly, he admitted his mistake. He apologized. He says, La tu'akhidni bima nasitu. He did not become stubborn. And secondly, we see that Musa a.s. requests Khidr not to be too strict, not to be too difficult with him. Because if you think about it, if the teacher is extremely strict, then what will happen? It will become difficult for the students to learn. If the teacher is extremely strict, then the student is even worried to ask a question, to voice out their concerns. So we see that Musa a.s. is requesting that his teacher not be too strict with him. So what do we learn for the student? That if he has ever made a mistake, what's the easy way? Just apologize. Simple. Make it easy for yourself, make it easy for the other. And if you do find it very difficult, you can also request for some ease. You can also request for some ease, but that ease should be something that is genuine. Now the hadith continues. We learn that both of them, they disembarked from the boat, and while they were walking on the shore, Khidr saw a boy playing with other boys. And Al-Khidr took hold of the boy's head, and he pulled it off with his hands, killing him. Musa a.s. said to him, Have you killed an innocent person who had killed none? Verily, you have committed a thing that is nukr. He said, Did I not tell you that you would not be able to have patience with me? Did I not tell you that you will not be able to have patience with me? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَانْطَلَقَا. So both of them set out again. Now once they left the boat, what happened? Both of them set out, Musa a.s. and Khidr. Hatta until إِذَا لَقِيَا, when they both met, they both came across غُلَامًا, a boy. And remember, ghulam is used for a young boy who has just reached his teens. You can say about 12, 13, about that. So فَانْطَلَقَا حَتَّى إِذَا لَقِيَ غُلَامًا. What happened? فَقَتَلَهُ. So Khidr, he killed him. قَالَ, he said, Musa a.s. obviously he could not tolerate that either. This was something far more serious than destroying the boat. He said, أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً. Have you killed a soul that is zakiyah? What does zakiyah mean? Zakiyah is pure. It's from the word zakat. Pure, innocent. And why does he describe the child as a pure, innocent soul? Because remember that until a child reaches the age of puberty, his sins are not recorded for him. No matter what sin he does, no matter what action he does, he is not held accountable for it. He can be reprimanded, but the legal punishments will not be applied on him. And also because if a child who has not yet reached puberty, if he does any good deeds, then those good deeds are actually recorded for him. This is the mercy of Allah. Good deeds are recorded, but the sins are not recorded. So this is why he describes that child as zakiyah. So you have killed a nafsan zakiyatan bighayri nafsin, without a soul, meaning not as a punishment for a person that he had killed. Generally, when is a person allowed to be killed? When he has committed murder, in qisas. So he says, you've killed this boy, not in qisas, bighayri nafsin. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا نُكْرًا. Certainly, you have done a thing that is hateful, that is deplorable. Nukra is from the root letters Nun, Kaf, Ra. Any other word from the same root? Munkar. What is munkar? That which is rejected by the aql, that which is rejected by the sharia, which is not acceptable at all. So you have done something that is nukr, that is denied, that is unacceptable, that cannot be understood. I mean, what could be a genuine reason behind killing a child such as him? Why would you do something like that? I do not understand why you have done something such as this. Now again, Musa a.s. had been enjoining good and he had been forbidding evil since a long time. He was a prophet of Allah. And according to the law that he had been given, killing innocents, killing those who had not committed a crime was obviously something that was forbidden. And if you look at it, killing someone who is innocent is an act that is rejected by one's aql, and it's also rejected by the law that Allah has given. Therefore, Musa a.s. was unable to remain patient. And he spoke up. You see, when Khidr said, إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا, you will not be able to have patience with me. وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. How can you have patience over something that you do not know of? This is what he meant. That Musa a.s. did not know why Khidr was doing these actions. And before Khidr could explain himself, we see that Musa a.s. is objecting. This was the patience that he was lacking. Now apparently, it might seem that Musa a.s. is also disrespecting his teacher. Because if you look at it, the way he says, لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا نُكْرًا, this might seem a bit harsh. And we have learned that a person must be extremely respectful towards his teacher. Now this is not disrespect. And especially if you look at the situation that Musa a.s. was in. No matter who it is, even if it's your own parents, someone whom you respect a lot, if they kill an innocent person, will you remain quiet? Will you remain silent? Will you be able to take it? Not at all. You will speak up. And Musa a.s. was far more sensitive than us. Therefore, he spoke up. Qala, he said. Who said? Khidr said to him now, again reminding him, Alam aqul, did I not say, laka, to you, innaka lan tastati'a ma'iya sabra, that you would never be able to have patience with me? Did I not tell you? If you notice over here, the statement is slightly different from the first one. How? How is it different? Previously, what did he say? When he reminded Musa a.s., what did he say in the previous statement? قَالَ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. And here what do we see that he says? أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكَ. So we see the addition of laka over here. Why? Did I not tell you? It shows a more intense reminder, a more, you can say, severe reminder, that this is not the first time I reminded you earlier as well. And it's as though he's saying that you have not been able to understand this, and you will never be able to understand this fact, that you do not have patience with me. إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. You do not have the patience that is required to learn this knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to me. Qala, he said, Musa a.s. said, إِن سَأَلْتُكَ عَنْ شَيْءٍ, if I do ask you about something, بَعْدَهَا, after it, meaning after this incident, if I do ask you about something, فَلَا تُصَاحِبْنِي, then fine, do not keep me as your companion. Do not let me be in your companionship. Then you can expel me. قَدْ بَلَغْتَ, certainly you have reached, مِن لَدُنِّي, from near me, عُذْرًا, an excuse. What is an udhr? An excuse, a reason. So he says that you have a reason now to reject me. You have a reason now to refuse me, to refuse to allow me to accompany you. If you do leave me, if you don't allow me to accompany you anymore, you are justified. قَدْ بَلَغْتَ مِن لَدُنِّي عُذْرًا. You are justified. We see that Musa a.s., he admitted his fault again. Didn't he? He apologized again. He realized that Khidr's status was higher because he was teaching him here, and therefore he gave him. So then what happened? فَانْطَلَقَا, then they both proceeded again. حَتَّى, until إِذَا أَتَيَا, when they both came across. Both of them, Musa and Khidr, they came across أهل قرية, people of a town. Which town is this? Do we know which town this is? No, we don't know, because the name is not mentioned over here. We also don't find the name in the Sunnah. Therefore, there is no need to guess. So, فَانْطَلَقَا حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَيَا أَهْلَ قَرْيَةٍ. They came across the people of a town, and what happened when they got there? إِسْتَطْعَمَا أَهْلَهَا. They both asked for food from its people. إِسْتَطْعَمَ is from Ta, Ain, Mim, Ta'am. What does Ta'am mean? Food. And إِسْتِطْعَام is to seek food, to ask for food, to request for food. So both of them, they asked for food from who? From the people of that town. Why? They were travelers. And travelers, they have a right that when they are passing by a particular city, they can make requests for them to be accommodated, for them to be taken in as guests. And this is why in our religion there's so much emphasis on spending on who? On Ibn Sabil, on the traveler. So both of them asked for food. But what happened? فَأَبَوْا. But they refused. Remember the word Aba? Aba was takbara? It is to refuse harshly. So the people of the town refused أَن يُضَيِّفُوهُمَا, that they take them in as guests, that they offer them to hospitality. يُضَيِّفُوا is from ضَيَّفَ, يُضَيِّفُ, تَضْيِيف. Remember the word ضَيْف? Who is ضَيْف? Guest. ضَيْف Ibrahim. And ضَيَّفَ is to take someone in as a guest, to be a host, to receive, to take someone in as a guest. So the people of the town refused to take them in as guests. And remember that this is something that is against generosity. And this is also something that is against Iman. Refusing to offer any hospitality to guests, to visitors, this is what? Against Iman. Where do we learn this from? How do we know that this is against Iman? This contradicts Iman. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said that مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ ضَيْفَهُ. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, what should he do? He should honor, he should be generous towards his guest. So if there is a visitor, if there is a guest, and they're not welcomed in, they're not treated with generosity, then this is what? This is against Him. So we see over here, فَأَبَوْا أَن يُضَيِّفُوهُمَا. What does it show? That perhaps these people were not believers. Some scholars have said that the fact that they rejected to offer any hospitality to them, this shows that these people were not believers. So what did Musa and Khidr do? Did they argue with them? No. They just left them. And instead, فَوَجَدَا, so they both found, فِيهَا, in it, meaning in the city, they found جِدَارٌ, a wall. They found a wall in the city that yuridu, it intended. What intended? The wall was intending أَن يَنْقَضَّ, that it should collapse. Yuridu is from the word irada. And what does irada mean? Intention. When a person intends to do something. What do we see over here? Who's intending to fall down? The wall. Now, do walls, can they have some kind of intention? Can they? What do we think? It's not possible. But what do we learn? That even the inanimate things, they have the ability to do tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We learned earlier that وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. Every single thing is doing the tasbih of Allah, although you cannot understand how they do it. And we also see that the Prophet ﷺ, he had that trunk by which he used to give the sermon. But what happened when it was about to be replaced? It began to weep, and the Sahaba actually heard it crying. The Prophet ﷺ also said about Uhud that we love Uhud and Uhud loves us. يُحِبُّنَا وَنُحِبُّهُ. So how can a mountain love someone? Think about it. We cannot imagine it. Similarly, we cannot imagine a wall intending to collapse. But what we learn from the various texts of the Quran and Sunnah is that the inanimate things also, they have some sense. they do have some kind of conscience that we are unable to comprehend, but they have something. So yuridu an yanqadda. This wall intended to fall. Others have said that the word yuridu is actually figurative. And what this means is that it was about to, it was at the verge of falling down. Because when we intend to do something, then we are at the verge of doing it. So yuridu an yanqadda. And the word yanqadda is from the root letters Nun, Qaf, Dad. Naqd. According to one opinion. And naqdul ahd is what? To break a promise. And according to others, yanqadda is from the root letters Qaf, Dad, Dad. Qad. And qad is to pierce. To crush. So yanqadda, it was about to break, it was about to violate, or it was about to fall down. It was about to collapse. So what did Khidr do when he saw this wall? فَأَقَامَهُ. So he set it upright. He restored it. أَقَامَ يُقِيمُ إِقَامَةً is to establish something, to make something stand straight. So this wall was about to fall. What did Khidr do? He fixed it. And he made it stand straight. Qala, Musa a.s. obviously, he was going to say something. So he said, لَوْ شِئْتَ, if you willed, لَاتَّخَذْتَ, surely you could have taken, عَلَيْهِ, upon it, meaning on fixing this wall, you could have taken from the people some ajran, some kind of reward. Now we see over here that Musa a.s. did not ask him that why did you fix the wall when they did not offer any hospitality to us. Rather, he suggested. But we see that in this suggestion is a very subtle objection. In this suggestion is a very subtle question. And what is that question? Why did you do this? Or why did you not charge them? How could you do that? When they rejected you, how could you do that? So, what do we see from here? That Musa a.s. was not even allowed to comment or to interrupt in regards to what Khidr was doing. And we see that before even Khidr could explain to Musa a.s. spoke up. In each of these three instances. As soon as Khidr did something, Musa a.s. spoke up. This was the sabr that was lacking. And this is the kind of sabr that is necessary for a person to learn. That before something is fully explained to you, do not interrupt, do not speak up. So what happened? Qala, Khidr said, هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. This is it. This is parting between me and you. You go your way, and I go my way. This is it. Our companionship has come to an end. This is firaq, parting, separation, farewell. Between me and you. But before you go, سَأُنَبِّئُكَ, soon I will inform you. بِتَأْوِيلِ, with interpretation of what? مَا, that which, لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ, you were not able to, عَلَيْهِ, upon it, صَبْرٌ, in patience. I will tell you about what you could not be patient over. The Prophet ﷺ said, we wish that Musa a.s. was patient, so that Allah would have told us more about both of them. What do we learn over here in this ayah? We see the kindness of Khidr. That he doesn't just say, okay, that's it, go away from here now. What does he say? This is a separation between me and you. However, before you leave, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly what I was doing and what you were not able to have any sabr over. Now apparently, it may seem that Khidr was extremely strict. You may wonder, like, what's the big deal? If anybody would be in that situation, they would speak up. They would question, they would object. This is what we've been seeing so far. Anybody in that situation would behave in that way. It was very normal for Musa a.s. to speak up in these situations. But we see that Khidr had warned Musa a.s. before. And he gave him many chances as well. One after the other. But repeatedly, what was being proven? That in order to learn this knowledge, in order to be in the company of Khidr, a person needed immense sabr. And Musa a.s. was given many chances. But each time what was proven? That Musa a.s. would not be able to continue anymore. So this shows to us that a student may be given several chances to do something. But there is a limit to those chances. after those chances have expired, then the teacher has a right to make a decision regarding the student. And if a teacher does make that decision, it's not unfair. Because what does it show? If the student has been given several chances and he's still unable to do what is required of him, what does it show then? It's beyond his ability. It's beyond his capability. And if he is given more and more chances, then he is only going to get discouraged. He is only going to waste his time, and he is going to waste other people's time as well. It's not that the teacher or the system is being extremely strict. It's because both of them are not suitable for one another. Like, for example, it's possible that a person comes to take this course. Now, there is a certain condition that you have to have a certain percentage of marks in a particular subject, another certain percentage in another subject. And several chances are given. If you're able to take the test on time, okay, you have this window. If not this, okay, right after the course, within this window. You have to pass the test within a number of chances. But if a student is unable to do it, how many chances should he be given? How many retests should he take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Imagine every time a student takes a retest, somebody has to make it. Somebody has to mark it. Somebody has to enter it. Somebody has to process all that information. But if the student is not benefiting from every chance that is being given to him, and he's taking 5 tests, 6 tests, what does it show? She's not capable. Either there is incapability or there is lack of effort. And after a certain time, the chances will expire. And if the admin makes a decision that the diploma will not be offered to the student, then this is not injustice. And this we see everywhere in the world. Any school you go to, any institute, any university, you have to meet the requirements. If you don't within the limited chances, then what happens? Eventually, the time expires, the chance expires. And if there is rejection, then remember this is not injustice. Because many times we blame the administration. We blame the teachers. And we don't take the blame on ourselves.